My name is Sable Delaney. I'm 32, and this is not a pretty story. It's a story about how a single sentence can pry open a relationship you thought was airtight, about how silence can be sharper than a scream, and how a beach house and a phone camera can do what years of polite warning never could. We were sautéing garlic when he dropped it. Sebastian, my fiancé, had that breezy, I already booked it energy he used for decisions he didn't want to negotiate. So, he said, shrugging like the news was a garnish, the guys finalized everything for my bachelor. 5 days in Cancun. Full experience. I kept stirring. Full experience? He smiled over the pan like a salesman who knows you'll sign anyway. Pool parties, club nights. And yes, we booked entertainment for one of the nights. Don't be weird about it. There are words people use when they want you to feel small. Weird is one of them. I plated the pasta. We agreed on low key, remember? That was before Nolan took point, he said, already loading his bowl. He put so much work into this. It's harmless fun. You trust me, right? The way he said it, like the only correct answer was yes, and anything else would prove me unworthy, told me more than the trip itself. I set the wooden spoon down. Of course, I said. Have an amazing time. He kissed my cheek, relieved, as if the test had been passed. I knew you'd understand. Oh, obviously you can't do your bachelorette that same week. We should stagger them. A quick sip of wine. Yours will be what? A spa thing with your friends anyway? I nodded. Inside, something unlatched. Later that night, I stood at the sink, wrists still smelling faintly of lemon and steam, and let the faucet run too long. There's a kind of quiet where the shape of your next move becomes obvious. I dried my hands and went to the patio to call the people who loved me without conditions. Robert picked up on the second ring. Sable. Perfect timing. I was just telling Diane we haven't seen you two in forever. Hi, Robert. I could hear gulls faint through his end, the ocean he loves to stand and listen to whenever they're at the coast. Did your offer about the beach house still stand? For my bachelorette? He laughed, delighted. I insisted, didn't I? When? The second week of next month. Perfect, he said. Diane and I will be in town that whole week. Take the house. Want me to stock the fridge? There's a fisherman who'll deliver the good stuff. That would be incredible. Anything for my future daughter-in-law, he said without irony, and promised the boat keys would be on the hook by the mudroom. When I hung up, the patio string lights hummed around me like a chorus of nerves. It wasn't spite, it was symmetry. I told Sebastian later that night, casual as folded laundry. I'll be busy that week too. Work? He asked, eyes on his phone. Something like that. He barely looked up. Cool. Don't do anything crazy. I smiled at our reflection in the microwave door. Two people who looked like a match in still life. The thing about reflections is they never show you the speed at which something is coming apart. The week arrived faster than it had any right to. Sebastian's airport drop-off was a performance for an audience of one, him. You sure you're okay with this? He asked for the 5th time, the phrase smoothed by practice. Have an amazing time, I said again. He wanted me to flinch. I didn't. His squad wore matching tees with a cartoon groom in sunglasses. Mine wore sunscreen and practical sandals, and the kind of loyalty that doesn't require a shirt. I waited exactly 1 hour after his flight took off and then posted a single photo. A wide shot of weathered gray shingles and a slice of blue beyond them. Caption: Bachelorette weekend starts now. Eternally grateful to the people who raised the man I love. I tagged Robert and Diane. It wasn't a trap. It was gratitude. The house was exactly as I remembered. Salt in the floorboards, lemon oil in the banister, a framed map of the coastline with a tiny coffee stain across the bay, probably from Robert. Diane met us in town first, thrusting a bakery box into my hands like a prize. The blueberry ones are still warm, she said, then took a selfie with me and posted it with a halo of emojis only she uses, surprising my future daughter-in-law with treats. These ladies are so tidy, already cleaned up after breakfast. In the afternoon, Robert insisted on showing us his cove, which is really just a curve of shoreline where the water comes in gentler. He took a picture of me at the bow, hair caught in the wind, and posted it with a caption that made my throat tight. This one knows knots and has better sea legs than my son. We grilled that night while the tide went slack and the sky turned into a bruise that meant a clear tomorrow. My phone buzzed with the kind of comments that are really blessings. You're a gem. They're lucky to have you. Family is built, not bought. Diane replied to almost everyone with a heart, the way people do when their love is uncomplicated. Somewhere over the Gulf, Sebastian was ordering a second round with a lounge chair view and a certainty that nothing could be seen from 1,000 miles away. The next morning, I woke early and walked the narrow steps down to the beach with coffee in a mug that said, "Good things are coming." The tide line was a necklace of shells and kelp knots. I scrolled for a minute on autopilot and found the first story from Sebastian's friend Nolan. Arrived, palm trees, clinking glasses. The second, Night 1 preview, a club with lights like a heartbeat. The third, a pan across a stage where women in glitter moved like they'd memorized men long ago. The caption was a joke, middle school level. It wouldn't matter later. What matters is the recording exists. I pocketed my phone and walked until the coffee went cold. At noon, the girls and I set up a patchwork of towels and pretended we weren't waiting for clouds. Diane came by with lemonade and, bless her heart, another photo. "Look who I found, sunning responsibly." The comments unfurled like lace. "This girl is a keeper," someone wrote. "Sebastian is lucky." By late afternoon, the boat's wake traced our laughter in the creek. We ate early and went into town for ice cream. "You're quiet," my friend Marta said in the line, handing me a napkin I didn't need. "I'm listening," I said. "To what?" "To the part of me that doesn't need to shout to be heard." Sebastian texted then. A volley of nothing. "Just landed. Hotel is insane. Signal might be spotty. Love you." It read like a disclaimer disguised as devotion. Back on the porch, the sky did that exploding peach thing it had learned from postcards. My phone lit with Diane's newest. A photo of me and Robert on the dock, his arms slung across my shoulders like history, teaching Sable the secret spots. These two are like father and daughter already. I should tell you something about Diane. She documents joy without irony. It's how she loves. She posts sunsets, sangria, her basil, her son's fourth-grade art, the neighbor's dog, the way fog fingers the marsh at 7 a.m. She doesn't post to brag. She posts to remember. That habit will matter. Around 9, Nolan's story flickered again. A blur of neon and bodies. A shape that could be Sebastian on a low-rented throne, women like constellations moving in a choreography of bravado and boredom. Nothing you wouldn't expect. Everything you don't want to see. I turned my phone face down. We played cards. We argued about whether the moon looks closer at the shore because of science or because we need it to. We slept with the windows cracked, the ocean distributing its own lullaby. By day 2, Diane's Facebook had a small album, Beach House Bachelorette, classy edition. Her caption was a parade of adjectives only mothers can use unselfconsciously: gracious, helpful, grounded. She posted a photo of the pantry we'd straightened and a reusable bag of compost we'd set by the door. "Who does this?" wrote a family friend. Diane replied, "My girl. I can still feel the bruise that word left in my ribs." I don't know which of Sebastian's friends decided rules don't apply when music is louder than conscience. I only know a hand with chipped red polish panned at the worst possible moment. It captured skin and laughter and a mouth exactly where a mouth shouldn't be. The sound in the clip was 1,000 miles of denial. I was on the dock when my phone started vibrating like it had swallowed a live wire. Marta glanced at the caller ID, then at me. "Do you want me to?" "No," I said, "not yet." I had a feeling the truth was about to develop in Diane's comments like a photograph in a tray. The ocean went on being the ocean. Somewhere in Cancun, Sebastian leaned into a joke he'd pretend he didn't tell. Somewhere between those two places, a mother tapped post, a cousin tapped reply, and a story that had been ours quietly became everyone's. I reeled the line in and set the rod down. The bite would come on its own. By sunrise, the story had already sprinted through 3 time zones. Diane's cheerful post, "Wonderful dinner with Sable and her friends. Such a calm, responsible group. Sebastian chose well," was still live when the first comment landed like a small earthquake. Patricia, one of Sebastian's aunts, typed, "How lovely. Where's Sebastian? I thought this week was his bachelor trip." Diane, blissfully unaware, replied almost instantly, "He's in Cancun for his bachelor. They both decided to celebrate this week. Great minds think alike." 5 minutes later, another comment appeared, this one from Sebastian's cousin, Lauren. "Auntie Diane, you should see the fun we're having here." She attached a video. It took less than 10 minutes for the tone on that thread to change completely. By the time Diane refreshed the page, the likes had frozen into uneasy silence. A few polite emojis, a question mark or two, then a quiet deletion. But the internet doesn't really delete anything. Not when half the extended family has already seen the clip. That night my phone rang. Robert. Sable, his voice was gravel. I need to apologize for my son. Robert, you don't... No, he interrupted. I do. What we just saw, that's not how we raised him. You're at our house being the adult while he's... Well, he trailed off. Are you okay? Honestly, I said, watching the tide crawl across the sand. I'm disappointed, but not surprised. There was a pause, heavy enough to feel like an agreement. He sighed. You deserve better than that. I stared out at the black water. I don't know if deserves the word, but I know I won't settle for less. I'm calling him tonight, Robert said, voice tightening. This isn't something we can pretend didn't happen. Please don't, I said quietly. Let him finish his trip. I'll deal with it when he gets back. You're a better person than I'd be, he muttered. Good night, kiddo. After he hung up, I stayed outside, tracing the constellations, until the chill bit at my shoulders. My friends had gone inside, pretending to sleep. Marta's text came a few minutes later from the other room. You good? Good enough. The phone lit again before I could set it down. This time it was Sebastian. 31 missed calls. I finally answered on the 32nd. You turned my parents against me, he barked before I could speak. You and your little country club act? Sebastian, I cut in, calm and cold. You might want to slow down before this becomes a record. They're furious. My mom won't even answer. My dad texted me, we're disappointed. Maybe because your cousin posted a video of you getting a lap dance. That was taken out of context. I laughed. What context makes that okay? I was drunk. It was my bachelor party. Everyone does it. Not everyone gets filmed, I said. Or forgets what respect looks like. You're probably doing the same thing, he shot back. I blinked. You think there's a strip club on the marsh here? We just finished a poker game with your dad. I'm up $80. This is so manipulative. You planned this to make me look bad. Sebastian, I said, tone even. I didn't plan anything. You made your choices. I just happened to choose people who noticed. When I hung up, the phone buzzed again, then again, until I turned it face down. Marta appeared in the doorway, blanket around her shoulders. That sounded rough. It was inevitable, I said. He's just mad the mask slipped while the lights were on. She didn't reply, just sat beside me on the porch until the sun began to leak pink across the horizon. By day 4, the situation was no longer private. Robert and Diane invited us to the country club that evening. Can't have you girls living on takeout, Diane said cheerfully over the phone. My treat. We tried to decline, but she wouldn't hear it. It's not every day we celebrate the last week of your engagement. So there we were, polished and smiling under chandeliers, eating grilled salmon. While somewhere in Cancun, Sebastian was probably trying to explain away the viral video. Diane, a few glasses in, kept taking photos, me with Robert, me with her, a group shot of the future family. Every flash felt like both proof and irony. At one point, Robert raised his glass. To Sable, he said quietly but firmly, for handling everything with grace. I met his eyes. There was pride there, but also pity. I smiled anyway. After dinner, Diane uploaded a picture of me and Robert, arm in arm, both laughing at something out of frame. The caption, such a gentleman and a lady. We're so blessed to have her joining our family. The comments rolled in. She's a catch. He's lucky. Beautiful couple. Then, inevitably, where's Sebastian? Diane hesitated only a moment before replying. He's in Cancun with his friends. They're both celebrating this week. Lauren, again, the cousin with too much energy and too little filter. Oh, you should see the fun we're having here, she typed, adding a winking emoji and a video thumbnail. This one was worse than the first. Closer, louder, unavoidable. Within 5 minutes, Diane deleted her entire post. But the internet's an echo chamber. The moment you whisper, it shouts. At 11 p.m., my phone rang again. Robert. Sable, he said, voice tight. It's done. I called him. He tried to deny it, said it was edited. We've seen the footage. It wasn't edited. I told you not to call him. I couldn't not, he said. You've shown more respect in one weekend than he has in a year. I don't even recognize my own son right now. The words hung between us, heavy as wet rope. Are you okay? He asked again. I'm steady, I said. That's enough. He cleared his throat. Diane's heartbroken. She's deleting everything, but the family already saw. Emma called her crying. You know what Diane said? What? She said, at least Sable showed us what integrity looks like. I didn't know what to say to that. The next morning, I found a letter slipped under my bedroom door. Diane stationery. Pale blue, gold edges. Sable. You remind me of the woman I wanted my son to marry. Strong, decent, kind. I can't imagine what you're feeling, but please know this. You will always have a home here, no matter what happens. Love, Diane. I folded it once, then again, until it was small enough to fit in my pocket. That afternoon, Sebastian called again. This time I answered on speaker so Marta could hear. Are you proud of yourself? He spat. You've humiliated me. You humiliated yourself, I said. I just refused to carry it quietly. You're making a huge mistake if you think my parents will side with you over me. Sebastian, I said softly, they already have. The silence on the other end lasted almost a full minute before the line went dead. That evening, Diane invited us for a calm dinner. I almost declined, but something in her voice, maybe guilt, maybe protectiveness, made me say yes. We ate in near silence. Robert tried to make small talk about golf. Diane about the basil in her garden, but every few minutes her eyes glassed over. When dessert came, she set down her fork and said quietly, He's on a flight home tomorrow. He'll probably call you. I nodded. I won't pick up. Diane reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good. That night, the sea breeze rattled the window screens. I packed slowly, folding clothes into a suitcase that felt lighter than I expected. Marta peeked in. You sure you're ready to go home? Home, I repeated. Yeah, wherever that ends up being. The morning we left, Robert helped load the car. Take care of yourself, kiddo, he said, pulling me into a hug that lasted longer than expected. Don't let him rewrite this. I won't, I promised. He nodded once, stepped back, and looked at me with the expression of a man who just realized he'd been cheering for the wrong team for too long. The highway out of the coast shimmered with heat. My phone stayed dark until we hit the bridge. Then it lit up with a new text. Sebastian, we need to talk. I turned the phone face down and let it buzz until it went still. The next conversation would be on my terms. I got back to the city late Sunday night. The air felt heavier than the coast, stale with humidity, thick with the kind of silence that happens when your life is about to change and the walls already know. I parked in front of the apartment we used to share, headlights sweeping over the for sale flyers on the building next door. My stomach twisted, not from fear, but from clarity. The kind that hurts because you've waited too long to stop pretending. Sebastian wasn't home yet, but his car wasn't at the airport either. Maybe he was taking the long way back, hoping distance could shrink what happened in Cancun. I didn't wait to find out. By midnight, I'd changed the locks, boxed his things, and stacked them neatly in the foyer. The space looked cleaner than it had in months. Not better, just honest. The next morning, my phone exploded. Sebastian. What the hell, Sable? My key doesn't work. Are you serious? I'm standing outside with 2 suitcases. Neighbors are watching. Open the door. I waited an hour before replying. Me. Oh, sorry, had to change the locks. Security issue. He replied instantly. Security issue? What security issue? The one where my fiancé forgot what fidelity meant. 5 minutes later, tires screeched outside. By the time I opened the door, Sebastian was there, sunburned, puffy-eyed, standing behind his luggage like a salesman who'd lost his pitch. He didn't speak right away, just stared at me, incredulous. You're seriously doing this? Over a stupid party? This isn't about a party, I said. It's about who you became in it. He laughed once, sharp, defensive. You're punishing me because I had fun, because you need control. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Control? You told me not to have my bachelorette the same week as yours. You flew off to Cancun for 5 days of entertainment. The only thing I controlled was my own peace. You set me up, he snapped. You knew my mom would post those pictures. You wanted to make me look bad. Diane posts her breakfast, Sebastian. You didn't need my help to look bad. You just needed Wi-Fi. He flinched, jaw tight. You think you're so perfect. You think my parents are on your side? They'll forgive me before they forgive you. Maybe, I said, but forgiveness isn't the same as respect. For a second I saw it, his confidence faltering, the first crack in that polished, charming mask he wore in every photo, at every party. Then he said softly, I made a mistake, okay? You're overreacting. I opened the door wider, then overreact somewhere else. His face flushed. Where am I supposed to go? Your parents' place, I said. Diane texted me. Your old room's ready. He blinked, stunned. You talked to my mom? She called yesterday. Wanted to make sure I was okay. You're unbelievable. No, I said. I'm just finished. He picked up one box, his favorite cufflinks clinking inside, and shook his head. You'll regret this. I smiled faintly. Maybe, but not tonight. He left without another word. The next day, the messages started coming in. Not from him, but from everyone else. Cousins, mutual friends, even his college roommate. What happened? You really broke it off? I saw the video. Is that real? I ignored them all. The story was telling itself now, and I didn't need to edit the ending. By Tuesday morning, Sebastian's narrative had changed. His version of events was that I'd manipulated his parents, that I'd plotted this for months, that I was a control freak who turned them against him. The internet is a funny thing. It can make anyone a victim if you use the right adjectives. But people forget that the internet also keeps receipts. Lauren, the same cousin who posted the video, commented under his post, "You did that yourself, dude. Stop blaming her." Then Ashley, one of his Cancun friends, chimed in, "We told you to calm down that night. Don't twist it." And then came the knockout, a comment from Robert. "Sebastian, stop embarrassing yourself. Sable has shown more integrity through this than you ever did. We're proud to know her." The post was gone within 2 hours, but by then, it had done its work. Robert called me that evening. "Just wanted you to know we're taking care of the wedding cancellations," he said. "It's our mess to fix." "Robert, you don't have to." "I do," he said firmly. "You handled everything with grace. That's more than I can say for my son." Diane got on the phone next, her voice shaky. "I can't believe what he's become. I'm so sorry, Sable." "It's not your fault," I told her. "You gave him every chance to be decent. He chose something else." There was a pause, then a quiet laugh that was half sob. "I always wanted him to find someone who could hold him accountable. I just didn't think it would cost him you." We hung up without goodbyes, just silence that felt like understanding. By the weekend, the ripples had reached the vendors. Emails flooded in, florists, caterers, venue managers, each asking for confirmation of cancellation. Diane handled it all. She even sent me screenshots of her messages. "Please remove Sable from this correspondence. We'll be covering all costs." Her texts to me afterward were short but warm. "Dinner soon? No pressure. Robert says hi. We're proud of you." I didn't answer right away. I didn't know what to say to two people who'd raised the man I loved, but were now treating me like the daughter they wished they'd had. Instead, I did something simple. I walked to the nearest park, sat under a tree, and breathed. For the first time in months, my body didn't feel like it was defending itself. A week later, Marta called. "You should see this," she said, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Sebastian had posted a long reflection on his private account. It was a blend of self-pity and denial, a soliloquy about toxic partners, emotional manipulation, and how social media destroys relationships. It might have worked if his coworkers hadn't already seen the Cancun video circulating in group chats, or if his cousin hadn't replied again with, "Bro, you literally did this to yourself." His post was deleted in 20 minutes. That night, Robert and Diane invited me to dinner. I almost said no, but curiosity got the better of me. When I arrived, Diane opened the door with that same gentle warmth she'd always had, but the sparkle was gone. "I keep thinking about how blind we were," she said, ushering me in. "All those years, we just thought he was charming. You can be charming and cruel at the same time, can't you?" "You can," I said softly. Robert appeared from the kitchen, apron still on. "You're family to us, you know that?" "I do," I said, though my throat tightened. We ate quietly, talking about everything except Sebastian. When dessert came, peach cobbler, Diane's specialty, she said, "You did the right thing, sweetheart. The hard thing, but the right one." I nodded. "I just wish it didn't have to hurt this much." Robert smiled sadly. "The hurt means you cared. The peace means you healed." When I left that night, the sky was sharp with stars. I drove home with the windows down, the wind cold but clean. On my kitchen counter, his last box sat unopened. Inside were old notes, ticket stubs, a tie he wore on our first date. I carried it to the balcony and watched the city lights ripple below. Then I whispered what I should have said months ago. "Goodbye, Sebastian," and I let it go. The box hit the dumpster with a dull thud, final and certain. I closed the door, exhaled, and for the first time in years, my apartment felt like mine again. 6 months later, life had rearranged itself into something unrecognizable, not glamorous, not dramatic, just steady. And steady, I was learning, was its own kind of miracle. The apartment was different now. Fewer plants. I'd finally admitted I couldn't keep them all alive. More light. My mornings began with coffee and quiet instead of questions. Robert still called every other Sunday, usually mid-morning, his voice rolling with that fatherly mix of warmth and formality. You keeping those contractors in line, kiddo? And Diane, bless her, had started sending me recipes again. It was both strange and grounding, like I'd inherited parents I never asked for but somehow earned. Sebastian, meanwhile, had disappeared into rumor. I heard snippets through the grapevine. Coworkers mentioning he'd been written up after that Cancun clip made its way into his company's HR inbox. Apparently, the branding on his polo in the video matched the firm's logo, and HR had a long talk with him about professional conduct. He didn't get fired, but the promotion he'd been bragging about? Gone. I didn't feel satisfaction exactly, just closure. Karma doesn't need applause. It was a Thursday afternoon when Diane called, her voice unusually soft. "Sweetheart," she said, "we're making dinner this weekend. Nothing fancy, just lasagna and wine. Come if you can." I hesitated. I'd avoided the beach house since everything happened. But something in her tone, like she needed to feed someone who wouldn't make her feel guilty for smiling again, made me say yes. When I arrived, the porch light was already on, flickering through the salt-heavy air. Robert met me at the door with that easy grin. "You're glowing," he said, then added, "I mean that in the least creepy, most fatherly way possible." Diane swatted his arm. "Stop making her blush. Come in." Dinner was warm and simple. No talk of Sebastian, no sideways pity, just stories, the kind people tell when they've survived something shameful and are finally learning to laugh again. At one point, Diane refilled my glass and said, "You know, I used to think forgiveness meant pretending something didn't happen, but it's really just choosing not to let it rot you." I smiled. "That's exactly right." Robert raised his glass. "To not rotting." We laughed, clinking glasses over lasagna crumbs. The next morning, I woke early and walked down to the dock, barefoot, the wood still cool from the night. The horizon was turning that faint lavender color that makes everything look forgiven. I thought about the past year, the way humiliation can sometimes be the sharpest teacher, the way peace always sounds quieter than revenge. And I realized I didn't miss Sebastian. I missed the version of me who kept trying to fix people who never noticed the effort. When I went back inside, Diane was already up, sipping coffee in her robe. She smiled when she saw me. "There's a new project breaking ground soon, isn't there? The hospital?" "Yeah," I said. "They want me to lead it." "I knew it," she said proudly. "They'd be lucky to have you." Then, after a pause, she added, "He called, you know, last week." My chest tightened slightly. "Sebastian?" She nodded. "Wanted to borrow money. Robert told him no." Of course he did. "Did he ask about me?" I said, though I didn't know why. Diane shook her head. "No, but he sounded tired." I exhaled. "So am I admitted, but in a better way." She smiled, the kind of smile that's half pride, half sadness, and reached across the counter to squeeze my hand. "Then you're winning, sweetheart." 2 months later, Robert texted me a photo, a golf ball midair against the bluest sky, the caption, "Lesson learned. Always choose your partners wisely." I laughed out loud at my desk. That same week, I ran into someone at a supplier conference. Evan, a project designer from another firm. He was quiet, observant, with that kind of steadiness that makes a room less noisy. We spent 2 hours talking about everything except work. He didn't ask about my past, and I didn't offer it. Instead, I found myself laughing. Not the polite kind, but the kind that shakes off dust from rooms that haven't been opened in years. When he asked to see me again, I said yes without hesitation. 3 months after that, Robert and Diane invited us both to dinner. Robert grilled seafood. Diane made her ridiculous lemon pie. Halfway through the meal, Robert leaned back, watching us. "You know what's funny?" he said. "When Sable first came to the beach house, I told Diane, 'That one's got more sense than my son ever will.'" Diane groaned. "Robert!" He waved her off. "What? It's true." Then he smiled at me. "We didn't lose a daughter-in-law. We just gained a daughter we actually respect." The table went quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that feels like a benediction. I raised my glass. "To lessons learned." "To second chances," Diane added. "To not marrying idiots," Robert said, deadpan, and we all burst out laughing. Later, on the drive home, the air smelled like salt and citrus. Evan reached over and took my hand, tracing circles against my palm. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, watching the coastline blur past. "I think I finally am." He smiled. "Good, because you deserve more than okay." I looked out the window, the tide glinting under the moonlight. Somewhere back at this beach house, the porch light would be on. Same as always. And for once, it wasn't lighting a wound. It was lighting the way forward. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't need to destroy someone to prove they hurt you. You just need to stop building homes in places that keep burning down. And when karma finally comes, as it always does, you'll be too busy living well to notice she arrived.